Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to be really exploring some thought-provoking ideas about personal growth and emotional intelligence, all stemming from this one really fascinating talk.
It's amazing how this talk goes way beyond like the usual self-help stuff
Right.
and really dives into how we experience the world.
Yeah.
You know, how we interpret things and how that shapes our lives.
Okay, so it's not just about feeling good all the time.
No. Yeah.
It's about really understanding how your mind works.
Exactly. It's about understanding that the world itself is neutral.
Okay.
It's just our interpretations, like the meaning we layer on top of stuff that creates, all the emotional reactions.
I remember that cow analogy he uses.
Yeah.
That was really eye-opening for me.
It's a great one. He points out that objectively a cow is just a cow.
Yeah.
But, depending on your culture, it could be a symbol of wealth, like a sacred animal or just, dinner.
Yeah.
And the cow hasn't changed, but the meaning we assign to it totally changes how we relate to it.
That's so true. And makes you think about how much our own, baggage or preconceived notions are affecting how we see every situation.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the idea of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
The speaker argues that just like any physical skill, we can train ourselves to be more aware of our emotions and manage them better. He compares it to a muscle.
I like that.
That gets stronger the more you work it out.
So it's not about being born emotionally intelligent.
Oh, no.
It's something you can actually develop.
Exactly. And he's really honest about his own struggles too, especially with anger. He talks about his own journey learning to manage those really intense emotions.
It's nice that he's willing to be so open about that.
I think so. It makes him seem more human.
Right. It's not like he's some perfect guru.
Exactly.
Okay, so we can learn to be more emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
But where does procrastination fit in with all of this?
That's where it gets really interesting. He describes procrastination as this sneaky thief.
Okay.
Stealing your dreams and potential right out from under you. He even tells the story about Leonardo Pareja.
Who's that?
He was a robber who would charm his victims with music.
Oh, wow.
While his accomplices were robbing them blind.
Okay, that's a crazy story.
It is. It illustrates how seductive procrastination can be.
So he's saying it's not just laziness.
No.
It's more complex than that.
Procrastination lures us in with these promises of comfort and ease.
Right.
But in the end, it robs us of our time and energy.
Yeah.
Leaving us empty-handed. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it makes me think of all those times when I should be working on something important, but instead I'm just scrolling through social media or cleaning my junk drawer.
Yes.
It's like I'm letting the procrastination thief win.
That's a great way to put it. And that leads perfectly into another key point he makes.
Okay.
The power of saying no.
He talks a lot about that.
Yes, and he's not just talking about saying no to other people.
Right.
He's also talking about saying no to those internal temptations.
Like the temptation to procrastinate.
Exactly.
Okay.
He argues that learning to say no is essential for setting boundaries and protecting our energy, both in our personal lives and surprisingly in our financial lives too.
He's got some pretty strong opinions about lending money, doesn't he?
He does. He actually discourages it.
Really?
He frames it as enabling rather than actually helping.
Interesting.
He suggests that true generosity is about empowering people to be self-sufficient, not constantly bailing them out.
It's a different perspective.
It is.
Yeah.
It ties into that theme of personal responsibility that runs through the whole talk.
Right.
We're not obligated to fix everyone else's problems, and sometimes the most loving thing we can do is say no.
It makes you think about what generosity really means.
It does. It forces us to look at our own motives. Are we really helping, or are we trying to avoid difficult feelings or maintain a certain image? He even suggests that sometimes saying no can be an act of self-preservation.
Okay.
Protecting our own well-being and prosperity.
It's definitely a thought-provoking way to look at it.
It is. And speaking of challenging conventions,
Yeah.
he has this really interesting idea about our past traumas and failures.
Okay.
Instead of seeing them as things to hide or be ashamed of,
Right.
he argues that they can actually become a source of wisdom and healing for others.
He talks about turning our scars into medicine, right?
Yes.
That really stuck with me.
He uses that powerful metaphor of the magic powder from a healed wound.
I love that.
It's like that powder can be used to heal fresh wounds.
So it's like our own pain can help others heal.
Exactly. It's about reframing those struggles as opportunities for growth and connection.
Yeah.
And maybe even using those experiences to help others understand their own pain in a new light.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah.
So it's not just about personal growth for ourselves.
No.
It's about using those experiences to make a positive impact on the world.
Absolutely. It's like that saying, your mess is your message.
I love that.
Yeah.
So maybe those things we see as flaws or failures
Yeah.
can actually be our greatest strengths,
Exactly.
offering unique insights that can guide and support others.
That's a really empowering thought. Yeah, it's not about just like dwelling on the negative. It's about finding the wisdom in those experiences and using it to grow.
And he doesn't just leave it at these like vague metaphors,
Right.
you know.
Right.
He actually gives some really concrete advice on how to manage our emotions.
Oh, definitely. He's really clear that it's not about suppressing your emotions.
Nope.
It's about understanding them and choosing how to respond.
Okay.
He actually makes a distinction between feelings and emotions.
Oh, interesting.
So feelings are those internal interpretations,
Okay.
while emotions are how we express those feelings outwardly.
So like I might feel hurt by something someone says,
Right.
but I don't have to like lash out at them.
Exactly. You have a choice in how you react. And he thinks understanding that difference is like crucial for becoming more emotionally intelligent.
Makes sense.
And he uses this really powerful example from his own life.
Okay.
He talks about how he used to struggle with anger like really bad. He even admits to having, homicidal thoughts at times.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
It is, but it shows he's not just talking the talk,
Right. Like he's been there.
He's walked the walk. And what's interesting is he realized that by focusing on the injustice, what other people were doing to him, he was giving away his power. He was letting their actions control his emotions.
So he had to like shift his focus internally to take back that control.
Exactly. And he didn't just try to like suppress the anger, he channeled it.
Okay.
He found healthy outlets like working on his farm or exercising.
So it's not about denying those emotions.
No.
It's about finding healthy ways to deal with them.
Exactly. It's about expression and channeling that energy.
And it makes me think back to his point about procrastination. Maybe those negative emotions like fear or self-doubt or feeling overwhelmed, maybe those are the real thieves holding us back.
I think you're right. He does say that we often procrastinate because we're afraid to fail.
Right.
Or we feel overwhelmed by the task.
Yeah.
So if we can learn to manage those feelings, maybe we can finally tackle those projects we've been putting off.
That's all connected, isn't it?
It really is. And speaking of connections, he also talks about setting boundaries,
Okay.
not just with others, but with ourselves, and
like
how
it.
that relates to personal responsibility.
Yeah, he's pretty outspoken about financial responsibility in particular.
Oh, he is. He doesn't hold back. He uses some pretty strong language to describe people who lend money unwisely.
Oh, yeah, she called them idiots, right?
He did. It's definitely a controversial stance.
Do you agree with him?
Well, it definitely makes you think about conventional ideas of generosity and helping others. I think it depends on the context.
Okay.
If someone is constantly borrowing money but not actually trying to improve their situation,
Then maybe lending more isn't the best way to help.
it's more about empowering them to find their own solutions, right?
Exactly. And it circles back to that idea of saying no and setting healthy boundaries.
Okay.
Recognizing that we're responsible for ourselves first.
Right.
And sometimes saying no is the most loving and empowering thing we can do.
Both for ourselves and for others.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that boundaries aren't selfish.
Yeah,
They're essential for healthy relationships.
absolutely.
He also emphasizes the importance of surrounding ourselves with positive influences
Yeah.
and seeking out mentors and teachers, friends who inspire us and support our growth.
I love that idea of like creating a circle of excellence around yourself.
Yeah,
It's like being intentional about who you spend your time with
absolutely.
and surrounding yourself with people who lift you up.
Exactly. He encourages us to find role models,
Mm-hmm.
people who have achieved what we want to achieve,
Yeah.
and learn from them,
It's like having a personal board of advisors. That's a great way to put it.
People who can offer support
Yeah.
and guidance.
And accountability.
Right.
He even suggests like reaching out to people you admire.
Okay.
Maybe through social media or email.
Wow.
Or going to their events
Mm,
and telling them how much you appreciate their work and asking for their advice.
that's a good idea.
It is. It's a reminder that we don't have to do this alone.
Yeah,
There are people out there who want to help.
absolutely. So we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
From the power of perception
Yeah.
to emotional intelligence,
Uh-huh.
resilience, and purpose.
It's amazing how much this one talk touches on.
It really is.
It shows how interconnected all these concepts are and how true growth happens on so many levels.
Right, like from our thoughts and beliefs
Yeah,
to our actions and relationships.
exactly. It's an invitation to be more conscious
Yeah.
and intentional in every part of our lives.
And what I find really inspiring is that he doesn't just talk about these things in theory. He shares his own experiences,
He does.
like his struggles and his triumphs.
Yeah, it makes it all feel more real and attainable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like he's not just some distant guru.
No.
He's a fellow traveler on this journey with us.
Absolutely.
So on that note,
Yeah.
we'll leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
If your life were a story,
Mhm.
what kind of protagonist would you be?
What challenges would you face?
What kind of legacy would you leave behind?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.